It all started as a game on social networks, where she uploaded a picture of herself and was mockingly... At first, my cousin was pretending to be fine, but clearly it was not.
Or to the point where she didn't want to go to school. Even reached very intense headaches or stomach to convince their parents not to go to school.
To a person when low, stress constantly can release higher amounts of cortisol stress, sensitivity.
In most cases of violence or aggression, there are people who watch this one who keep quiet, or even laugh because those people tend to take pleasure. Such acts of violence.
Remember that this episode is going to be posted on YouTube for you to subscribe, share it, and like it. It is important that all this information reaches many people, because it is of some importance we all attach how to combat violence today, as it is a very important issue we have today in society.
Hello to the entire school community. Welcome to this special episode of our Post Between Corridors and Voices. I introduce myself. I am Carolina Garcia, and today we are joined by
Emily Nicole,
Vania de Bunny,
Jimena Lopez Garcia,
Ruth Saray, Pérez Sánchez,
Zaira del Carmen,
Stephanie,
April Román López.
and we are students of the Cobao Campus 01. Today we want to present a topic on the table, crucial thing that happens every day in our institutions. Although sometimes during breaks, laughter and affection can be heard, normal for some students and peers. This is usually one very tense moment.
So the reality is that the violence is not a game since it's con. Its consequences end up affecting to the personal and collective health of our community. To better understand this topic, Vania will tell us a story of a relative of yours. And tell us, Vania, which one will be the first one story you'll tell us.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to your... Listen to this one. I am going to tell you a story about one cousin, very close to which this... It all started as a game on social networks, where she uploaded a picture of herself and was mockingly... This at first looked like only one game, but then it became constant harassment. At first, my cousin was pretending to be fine, but clearly it was not. Stopped leaving to recess. He would just stay locked in the library and come down. Lowered its ratings for fear of being harassed by his peers, and could no longer go out on the courts or in the corridors because I was already hearing indirect laughter or mockery of him.
For it is shocking how sometimes we are in the digital environment, this is often the case, to the physical space where we find ourselves, and now the mockery is more constant. In our schools and even in the community, what we find ourselves in when we are together with other persons. Zaira, I know you bring us another perspective on how school violence arises. Please tell us about your experience.
So it is. First of all, I can thank you, the girls, for inviting me to their special episode. And if I bring a story in which I think we are going to reflect a little on how today we think that or violence is only physical aggression, or that which we can only perceive with our senses. But the reality is that today, violence is hidden behind a screen, or disguises himself on social networks as a mere joke. I remember a few months ago, something shocking happened to a colleague in her life, in which a colleague of his decided to sculpt in their social networks and found an old photo, his from years ago where he was younger. I believe that some situations like this, I think several people or several of us have to meet. I think this is very common, and of course we should not have it standardized. And continuing with the story, because it was easy or funny to this person, saving this photo, and cut it out and then make a sticker. and publish or share it among your group of friends, or between the living room group. At the beginning it was only among them, or was saved as a simple joke. But in a matter of days, the sticker was already held by several people of other rooms, and then started uploading it to Instagram burn pages, not the typical ones we all know. So it reached a limit, or reached the point, in which she did not want to go to school, even reached very intense headaches, or stomach, to convince their parents not to go to school. And when I could not convince them, she was trying to go unnoticed by hiding, or even playing hooded sweaters so that no one would see it and no one would make fun of it. No one will make fun of her. She would walk through the school hallways or through the schoolyard, and I only heard how they made fun of her then, when she was trying to talk to these people, of how this made him feel bad or loved them, to imply that please do not do so. They just told him, "Ay, is it just a joke, or can't stand anything then?" This story kind of makes you think, or at least it made me realize of how we don't even have a secure space inside. This educational community
is to surprise your experience, how to see how the networks can make a person can be changed and transformed in a certain period of time, quickly. How sometimes support also mentions from their parents must be very important to find out what is happening to him. To the beams, the person then here comments. And now, in order to deepen the topic of how violence affects the latter, both mentally and physical to people, and I give the floor to Fanny, and Fanny, tell me, what causes harassment of a student's body?
Thanks for inviting me to your expensive lunch. You will see from a scientific point of view, alters the balance of a person's nervous system. When it is low, stress constantly can release higher amounts of cortisol stress, sensitivity. This may cause the person to suffer from insomnia, chronic headaches, nervous colitis, and present with rejection. A very remarkable physical miracle. This means that academic performance take a back seat, since most of the energy that this has, that the student has to pass to be used in control good more than anything, face and resist to the school environment in which it is presented. To these long-term experiences can affect self-esteem, confidence and capacity of interacting with other people. This we cannot demand from students. 1-1 performance or educational excellence if we do not guarantee them a safe space and emotionally healthy in the classroom.
Well, thank you very much, Fanny. And the truth is very alarming because in cases it ends up affecting a la persona and also to his psychological level, and that is one of the points at which people they do not understand and how much all these types of situations can be affected. Well, Jimena, tell us what damage occurs, short and long term, those persons who experience this type of violence or suffer all that kind.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. So on a psychological level, this is devastating, as we are talking about generalized anxiety disorder. This episode of very severe depression, even have self-destructive ideations. This affects the victim very much, since she thinks that suicide is because of her. But when this is not the case, then this begins to isolate itself from its peers, family, friends of their relatives. That is why it is very receive psychological help because these traumas can be traced back to adulthood, causing him to no longer be able to relate or work.
Okay, thanks. In spite of this very complex scenario, our staff depends on the solutions we need, that we propose so that may be visible, our own proposals, or that there are also solutions in such cases. That's why today Ruth will tell us about it.
Thanks, Nick, for giving me the floor. First of all, one of our great proposals for promote the prevention of violence is to eliminate the passive witness. What do I mean by this? In most cases of violence or aggression, there are people who watch this one who keep quiet or even laugh because those people tend to take pleasure in witnessing these acts of violence. So that this is no longer promoted aware of as it may be at the campus on social networks. We must support the victim because many of us, we may not pay attention to this one. We see it and ignore it. We see it as something normal, or there are even people who record it that upload it to their social network. And among other things, it is even better if we decided to get out of that bubble or that circle where victims are not supported. We are supporting that person. And if we don't, we are also accomplices to promote this type of violence. Since psychologically the stalkers are more less harsh towards these victims, so to speak, since they are not the only ones to tend to say, well, yes, the public does not see as a good thing, then they lower that level of publicly raping that person too much then. Little by little, we will be able to share that and maybe help that person.
Well, it is a great contribution what you tell us, and your opinion makes us see how sometimes silence makes us to be accomplices in this violence because as well as you did, we are all part of them. If we continue to do so, as you say, yes, well, we continue to share this one, or recording the violence that happens to us, and that goes on makes us already accomplices. For it does not matter, even streets already make us accomplices. Now, although April, you what institutional or collective tools do you think we can activate to prevent this violence?
Of course. Well, as a magic solution, to create peace mediators in each group, students trained to listen and report the situations before they become more serious. It is also necessary to create on the management of emotions and respect for others. In this way we can create a school environment healthy and safe for all.
Thank you very much for this great and important proposals and stories. And we too many have listened to today, and that gives us a different way of thinking now, because puts us to think about you, that in what form we can also help those people who suffer, and also that is to say proposals and in supporting. And it is clear to us violence that is not an option but an obligation to make the people around us feel, and that it also can live together in peace.
Well, as we know, all institutions and how is ours. Cobao 01 are our second home. For from us, it depends on whether to continue this violence, to put us on the side of being accomplices and keep quiet, or put ourselves on the right side, the one we want now, where it comes to respect, empathy, and cordiality towards others. It depends on us whether we follow with this violence or if we decide to put an end to it.